You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is January the 6th, 2020. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
Hello, Carl. Happy New Year. It's 2020, man.
We're here.
The future is now.
Yeah.
And also in 23.
How's 2020 treated you so far?
Well, the first week has been pretty much just like 2019.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not a bad thing.
No. It doesn't feel a lot different. There's not a lot of chaos happening in my world, which is great.
But it is kind of crazy when, like, there's a lot of a decade in review stuff happening the last few weeks. And when you think about the things that happened in the last 10 years, it is pretty crazy how much has changed.
It is. Yeah. Even thinking back to where we were, right? Like, I had it pulled up today. The 2010 Selke Trophy winner, mostly because that's the award that I have pulled up right now because I was looking at stuff earlier. Pavel Datsyuk. That's how long ago. That's how long ago that was. But you know what? 2020 did not start great for everyone.
Oh, no.
There's, I think for some of us, we're getting back into the swing of things, and it takes a bit. I don't know about yourself, Nick. You had some time off. Getting back into the swing of, like, this is how I work again can be difficult for some of us.
Yeah, it takes some time. You have to remember things.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And we are not the only ones that experience this. An official over in the UK, their hockey league, the Peterborough Phantoms and the Telford Tigers had a game. It was delayed 15 minutes because one of the refs forgot his pants.
His pants? Like his actual pants?
Like his pants. The wording that they use is they had to find some appropriate bottoms for him. And so this is from the BBC. So this is like the last place that I'd be looking at for hockey news. And so they really make it clear for us. Ice hockey officials need special black trousers with padding as a puck can travel at more than 100 miles per hour. So even though Belfitt turned up in the wrong trousers, it was only fair that he was spared the embarrassment of having to grab a pair from the lost property bin. So this game was delayed. It was from the official team account. It said, we have 3 of our 4 match officials on the ice. Presumably, Mr. Belfitt didn't want to ref the game in his underwear.
Fair enough. It's cold in arenas.
And that puck can go over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have the proper padded pants. Like, I wonder if they were like, come on, just go out there. And he's like, nope, I'm not wearing unpadded pants out there.
Like, just, you got jeans on, put those back on, go out there.
Yeah. It's funny. I was, as we're sitting here talking about this, I was going to rip the guy. Like, how can you possibly forget your pants? Such a crucial piece of equipment for you to go into a game of hockey. And I stopped myself because it wasn't too long ago where I went to my game of hockey and started getting dressed and realized I forgot my skates.
Oh, I have forgotten my pants. I have been this guy before. I've showed up to the game and my pants are at home, right? Like, I don't know about yourself. When I get home from a beer league game, I just like sprawl my gear everywhere so it dries out.
100%.
And not everything always gets back in there.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I've forgotten pants, helmet, only one glove. I showed up to a game with a glove, to the point that I very much like frantically check, almost obsessively now when I go to a game, that I have everything. Because I played that game with no pants, by the way.
You played it without pants on?
I played it. One of the guys on the team had a shell, like a pants shell.
Yeah.
And so I just put those on and skated around. I pretty much just floated through the neutral zone. And it was the most useless game I've ever played, but it was good. Yeah. It does feel weird when you put on all the other gear and you're just pantsless.
Yeah, you feel like you're missing something. Like there's a certain weight that's not there.
Yeah, well, it feels like it because you are. So
this guy made the British headlines. I think like if he really wanted to make the North American headlines, he should have just reffed that game in his underwear.
He really should have. He should have gone full slap shot.
Yes.
It would have been good. Anyways, that's good. A nice 15-minute delay that happened just yesterday. So good news for him. 2020 hopefully can only go up from here.
Was this a televised game? Do you know?
I do not believe so. I have, to be fair, I've never even heard of this league before.
Because that's the telecast I'd pay to watch.
The NIHL. Never heard of it.
Well, Happy New Year to them and to this ref, and may he never forget his pants at home again.
Never, ever again. Lots has happened since we've been here last, Nick. It's been 2 weeks since we sat down to do this. You know what? And luckily, did you forget anything before we started? I brought my pants. I'm wearing them.
You can only see me from the waist up, but I'm wearing pants.
Okay. You know what? You don't have to lie to me, Nick. So we'll get into all that's happened. There's been a ton that's happened in the world of hockey since we were last here. Like an entire tournament started and ended since we last sat down to talk about hockey.
Yeah, a lot happened. I didn't want to bug you on your vacation, but it was like every day. I was like, I can't believe we're skipping a week like this. There's so much to talk about.
Well, we'll get into all of that. Before we do, Park Power is one of the fantastic sponsors of the Alberta Podcast Network and this show. And if you're looking as 2020 hits and you're like have a New Year's resolution to trim the finances, head over to Park Power because they are an affordable way to get your utilities here in Alberta. Parkpower.ca is a great place for you to go. Head on over there. You will not regret it. Let's start with some congratulations, Nick. Congratulations to Team Canada, winners of the 2020 World Junior Hockey Championships.
Woo!
Feels good.
Feels great, especially with the predictions that we made before the tournament started.
Which I kind of still agree with what we said.
We said the U.S. was the favorite for gold, and they didn't medal.
Kate, you're correct.
Although I think we talked around all these caveats about like it comes down to the goaltending, and we didn't have faith in Canada's goaltending. And before the tournament, hindsight, I still agree with that. I don't think anyone could have predicted Joel Hofer coming out of the woodwork like that. No.
And even during that game yesterday, I was in fact able to watch that game. It was the only I watched the US game and I watched the gold medal game. And that was like my issue with the team was that there wasn't a lot of depth to it. And for most of that game yesterday, there wasn't. Like most of the team outside of like Hayden, Lafreniere, didn't really do a lot. And then they were the ones who scored the go-ahead goal. So making me look silly. But for a lot of that tournament, that was the case for Team Canada.
Yeah, and I actually thought that their defense was a little underwhelming. Like all the defensemen, including Bowen Byram.
You take it back, Nick.
I will not. I will not.
But you're right. I was very excited for Bowen Byram, and then it took significant effort to find him when he was playing.
Yeah, I think you could say that about all of each of the defensemen. They just weren't outstanding. But you're right. It was like Lafreniere, Joe Veleno, Barrett Hayton. Those are the guys who stole the show. Nolan Foote was really good.
Yeah. How excited were you of the Joe Veleno
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Like he's not a big points guy or goal scorer, but he's just all over the ice all the time. He does all the right things. He's so good.
Yeah. He definitely was good in that tournament. Was there like So looking at the other teams and some of those things, was there anyone that you saw that really stood out to you that you were like, I didn't know who this guy was before, and now I'm excited for him?
Yeah, I actually watched a lot of these games, surprisingly. The German team was really good. I know that they ended up going to the relegation round, but I thought that they had some of the top teams on their heels for most of the games that they played. There's one kid on the German team. I think his name is Stolci or something like that. He's a pretty highly regarded prospect who's up for the draft this year in 2020. And I know that he's ranked to go like top 5 or top 6 or something. He was really impressive out there. Like, he really stood out against teams like the United States and Russia. So I was really impressed by him on Team Germany.
And it was weird that Germany was the ones, having that difficulty. Because like you said, like, they beat the Czechs. They were in a lot of those games as well. Pretty good performance there. Team Finland, obviously not so good in the 5-2 or 5-0 loss to Canada, but there's a lot of good prospects on that team too, a lot of talent, especially the Avalanche goaltender in net. Pretty excited about him. So that'll be fun. Hopefully some of these guys continue their development, so it's not just one really good week.
Yeah. And you always have to take this tournament with a grain of salt, right? It's like 6 days of hockey. We really shouldn't be making judgment calls on prospects based on a 6-day tournament or 7-day tournament or however long it was. But yeah, the Finns, I didn't watch as much of their pool because they weren't on the main TSN channel.
Well, and those games happened at, like, especially for you, I guess, no, they would have been earlier for me.
Yeah.
But they're early.
Yeah. Very early. Yeah. And I know I complained a lot before the tournament that, like, the game times sucked because it wasn't prime time, but it actually allowed me to watch way more hockey when they were out in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Cause you can, like, especially for the West Coast, right? Like, that Team Canada game started at 11 o'clock in the morning for us. It's like, cool. Watch that and then go do something else for the rest of your day.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I also spent the rest of the day watching sports as well, but that's fine. It just flowed really well one into another.
But those games also go really fast too. They don't waste a lot of time.
No, because there's less commercials than there would be for like an NHL game, and they're pretty quick there. So
I have a question for you. I don't know how much of the tournament overall you watch, but it sounds like you watched a few of the Canada games later on, so it still applies. The officiating in the tournament, what do you think about how they call the games?
It was definitely worse than NHL officials, for sure. Like, I'll pinpoint one thing in particular, and I didn't see if there was an official word on this after. I tried to find it. I didn't see one. Yesterday's game, the delay of game penalty that didn't happen when Canada put the puck over the glass and it hit the camera.
Yeah.
Late in the third period where they were already down 1. Should have been a penalty. Even though it hit a camera and came back into play. That camera's out of play. Like, you still put that puck out of glass. And sure, I'm glad that it wasn't, but there was no reason for that to not be called a penalty.
I agree with you, but I think the ruling before even the game, like the rule set, was that camera is technically in play. Because when it's turned and facing the ice, I think it passes over the boards a little bit.
Okay. So they told them that beforehand.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I still find the officiating in this tournament to be, that aside, that's more of a black and white call, but I find them to be a little overcautious with some of the, like, they make some calls on really kind of iffy. It's not quite a penalty, like not quite a roughing call, not quite a slash, but you can kind of see how they made that decision in their head. I just find them they call the game to a T, And I don't think that the players adjust their game enough back from playing professional, because you can get away with some of that stuff in the professional leagues.
Absolutely. Or the fact that like contact to the head is an automatic removal from the game.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like that becomes a black and white call. I'm fine that that's the case, but that's not the thing where most of these guys are coming from North America. The Canadians are, the Americans are, a bunch of the rest of the teams are playing in the, the O and the Q and the dub.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a bit of an adjustment. And you're right. I do find that in most of the games, like I feel like if you turn on any given World Junior games, someone's on a power play.
Always. And there's probably been an ejection in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Right. Yeah. So I agree. And it does take a bit of getting used to. Certainly helps those that play more often in a set of rules like that.
Yeah. 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 100%. It takes some getting used to. I would say like the greatest moment of the tournament for me was Barrett Hayton scoring that tying goal against Russia. After all the drama and controversy and injuries, seeing him take that slapper from the top of the circle, or that wrist shot from the top of the circle and score, was a really cool moment for Canada.
Yeah. Well, especially when in the pregame, they're talking about is like he can barely even put both hands on his stick, let alone actually play.
Yeah.
And to go from that,
yeah,
maybe he was just faking it all along. He's completely healthy.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's keep the officiating trend going, because the big thing that happened while we were gone also involved the officials, and someone that we're used to talking about, kind of getting in trouble, Mr. John Tortorella. What was the deal there, Nick?
So what happened was, I don't know if it was an icing call. There was some sort of call made. It was Columbus versus, who was it against? I don't even know. New York? It was the Rangers?
Yes.
And if I'm wrong, correct
Chicago.
me. Chicago. And the whistle was blown.
I think it was an offside. It was it doesn't matter. The whistle was blown.
The whistle was blown late in the third period. The clock ran for an additional second, or 1.2 seconds, or 1.9 seconds after the whistle was blown. They did not adjust the clock to go back to when the whistle was blown. And with that additional 1.9 seconds, am I getting this right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The time might be less than that. I think it was 0.9.
Okay.
It was a very small amount of time.
But whatever that margin is, the Blackhawks scored to tie the game. The game went to overtime, went to a shootout, and the Blackhawks won, and the Columbus goalie got hurt.
Yeah, in the shootout.
Yeah. So they get if the NHL gets the time right and sets the clock to when the whistle was blown, the Blue Jackets don't give up a tying goal. They don't lose the game, and they still have their goalie.
Correct. Now, what I do want to correct, because I think what actually happened, the Jackets scored the winning goal, but it was the game had already ended. Was that not it?
I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna go with that.
So that whole explanation I gave was just
no. You're opposite. Right there. It's just the opposite. That Columbus scored the winner right as the third period was ending.
So it was a tied game.
Right. It is the overtime was ending. Yeah, it was tied in overtime, and as that happened, the buzzer went, and it would have, if that extra time was there, that goal would have counted. It would not have gone to a shootout, and Joonas Korpisalo would not have gotten hurt. The Jackets would have won, and John Tortorella would have been much happier. So, in that situation, what do you think? Like, is there a way that they could go back and fix this? Should they have? Because there's a lot of times where like coaches, players argue with the refs and say, hey, I want you to look at this. And if they did that all the time, they would that's all we would ever do is just look at tiny iPads.
Well, I don't think this one is on the refs. Like there's got to be a timekeeper in the arena, someone who's responsible for hitting the start and stop button on the clock. And that like somebody else upstairs or in the box or somewhere needs to be making sure that the clock stops when the whistle goes. And if they miss it by a second, they got to re-add that second.
Yeah. And what's interesting, if you, in watching it, because I didn't see it live, but going back and watching it, it actually like looks like they like double press the button because it stops and then it restarts again. So that's like even more blatant of a mistake.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to keep going and fixing it. So what, call down, tell them, hey, we messed up, we got to stop the game.
Or like it should be done quickly. It should be done before they drop the puck again. Yeah.
But at the same time, they've done, like, I don't know, we've all watched games where like all of a sudden you're going to drop the puck and the buzzer goes. You're like, what's going on? And like the booth is calling over to you and like, we got to fix this. We got to look at something, whatever.
They need to make it right. I don't know what the logistics look like in a game situation like that, but you got to get the time right.
And there's no reason. I get that, like, you know, $20,000 for John Tortorella is not a lot. Like, when you mess up that blatantly, you get someone hurt, you give them the loss, maybe just throw them a bone on this one. Like, John, we really messed up and we're not going to punish you for it.
Yeah. You don't even have to say that publicly, right?
No, you just don't. You just like, let your actions speak for themselves.
I think the league felt like they needed to make an example and not let him get away with it.
Yeah.
Because what does it say to other coaches then when they don't know that these conversations have been had and they just see Tortorella going off in the media and getting nothing for it? I don't know. Did the league make any public statement about what happened?
They did. I don't have it here, but they did make a statement that there was a mistake. I don't have the actual wording here, but
I get that he was pissed, man, and I completely agree with him being pissed. I would have been pissed too.
Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. At the time, right, when we last were here, we did not know, but Joonas Korpisalo is an all-star. So he lost an all-star goaltender, and that's the thing. So I get why he's upset, which brings us to the all-star rosters.
Man, your segues are off the charts today.
You know, Nick, it's 2020, and we're gonna keep this going. Let's start with one that I find very interesting. So they try, in filling these rosters, they make sure that there's like someone from every team, which some teams, that's harder than others to make that happen.
Yeah.
Your Detroit Red Wings, they're in the Elimination Station. They did get an all-star appearance, Tyler Bertuzzi. But what's more interesting to me is in the vote after the fact, right? Because there's the last man in vote. And Mr. Dylan Larkin was up for that one.
Yeah.
Did you vote for him?
No, I don't vote for these things.
Okay, well, I went in, I logged in.
Did you?
I cast my vote for Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Cast my vote for Dylan Larkin.
Okay. Why'd you do that?
I just thought that if Dylan Larkin's literally going to tell me to not do something, that I'm probably going to do it just to give him a little bit of a gift. So Mr. Larkin came out and said, look, please don't vote for me. I'd rather have the day off than go to the All-Star game. What are your thoughts?
I don't blame the guy. I don't blame him. He's a young guy. It's not like he's gonna bring his family out to St. Louis to have a family fun weekend. His team is having a historically bad season. Like I completely sympathize with these guys that they're like, you know what? I'm happy to take a break from this league and from this game and from going to arenas and putting the jersey on and stepping away for a few days. I don't blame him.
I get that. But I also get the fact that, like, if Detroit fans want to watch Dylan Larkin in the All-Star game, and you're selected to it, like that is an honor to be selected to an All-Star game, right? Like there's only 40 people who are getting chosen this year. And whether it's Dylan Larkin saying, I don't want to go, or Alexander Ovechkin being like, yeah, I'm going to rest up, and I'm going to take the 1-game suspension for not showing up. It is not that difficult of a task to show up to an All-Star game. Sure, I get it. But you also have a bye week happening like right around then as well. So would you want a week and a half, 2 weeks off? Or is it just fine enough to be like, you know what, I'm going to go. People want to see me there. The fans want me there. They voted for me, picked me to go. You absolutely, especially if you're voted from the fans. Like, sure, I get that. Like, if you're, I mean, he's only been there once. Let's pick someone who's been there. You're Eric Stahl. You're like, look, I'm near the end of my career. They selected me. I'm the best player on the Wild. Sure. Someone from the team had to go. I don't really care. I'm more okay with that. But when you're voted in by the fans, come on. You've got an obligation to show up.
And I think he'll show up if he's voted in. I think he will. I think it's a really interesting insight into what's happening to this Red Wings team right now. Like, that's just how shot the morale is in that room. That he's out there saying, like, he's essentially saying, I don't want anything to do with this league right now. I'd rather have the time away.
Is that the sense that you get of why he's saying that?
I think the losing, and especially with how badly they've been losing and how often they've been losing, I think that weighs on a person. That weighs on you emotionally and mentally. And I think that these guys are probably just exhausted. Like, if they were first in the league or top of their division, he'd probably be ecstatic. But I think that, yeah, it really weighs on them. And I think that he just wants a break from it all. Now, part of being a professional is sucking it up. And guess what? It's all hockey-related revenues, and that's all going to hit your bottom line, bud, because you're part of the PA. So, you know, there's kind of a business side of it too. So, yeah, there's a bit of a lack of professionalism there.
And this is like an opportunity he could actually win at hockey. That Atlantic division's a pretty good team.
He'd be the healthy scratch, though. Let's be honest.
Like, yeah, we don't need you. We're good, Dylan.
And we'd finally get the fastest skater matchup we've all been waiting for: Connor McDavid versus the record holder Dylan Larkin.
And he's not going to let us have that because he's asked to not get voted in. Now, that said, there might be some people like me who've chosen to make him their selection because I don't really care who goes from the Atlantic Division. Now I do.
I think he'll get a lot of spite votes.
Yeah, it felt weird voting for the Detroit Red Wings. But I did, and I balanced it out by also voting for Cale Makar, so we're fine.
Well, there you go. When did they announce the last player in?
That one ends Friday.
Oh, good.
So that ends on the 10th.
So next week
we'll know by next week.
We'll be able to circle back on this one.
Yes, there's a lot of very good players obviously voted in. A lot of players who have some surprising first times. Artemi Panarin, shocking to me that this is his first time at the All-Star game, first selection.
That is surprising because, well, I guess Bobrovsky would have gone for the Jackets in the past.
Yeah. Bobrovsky and Seth Jones. This is his third time. So Seth Jones has been taking a bunch of those. Bobrovsky. So not the case in Florida this year. Jonathan Huberdeau going instead of him. It's his first time. It's Anthony Duclair's first time. Freddie Anderson gets the nod as well.
It's his first time too?
His first time. Dougie Hamilton, I'm sure he's excited to look at all the museums that there are in St. Louis. There's probably some very good museums.
Oh, there's probably some great museums
in the St. Louis area, so he'll be going there. Travis Konechny, Jake Gensel, who will now not be going because he is out for the year. Joonas Korpisalo, who will also not be attending. Jordan Binnington. This time last year, he couldn't even get votes for the All-Star game. Now he's going. Jakob Silfverberg, Matthew Tkachuk, Jacob Markstrom, and Darcy Kemper. Those round out the first-timers. It's a big collection.
Yeah, it's a lot of first-timers.
And I think potentially the NHL did, you pick first-timers because they'll actually show up.
Yeah. But, I don't know. They're also probably the best players on their team, right?
I guess so. I mean, this year, if I had to pick someone from the Flames, would I pick Tkachuk? Maybe. I mean...
Probably,
yeah. The Canucks, if I can think of a different, better goalie in the Pacific Division, I can't. So I get I get why Markstrom's there too.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about their whole every team needs to be represented shtick?
I support it. It gets tough.
I do too.
It gets tough when you have like such small rosters as they do now, though, because like before when it was a full like East versus West, there'd be more flexibility. And now it's like, well, we've only named like right now the Pacific Division at the announcement, they had one defenseman actually listed, right? Like,
yeah.
So they've got Gio going for the Flames, and that's it. So like it kind of makes it tough. Same thing. Like if you want to send a goalie, if there's a bunch of good goalies, you can't like send an extra one. So it makes it hard, but I like it.
I think I like it too. I think it definitely makes a lot of sense from the league's perspective. It definitely maximizes your chances of getting attention from every fan base.
Yeah. Well, and it's a thing for like, I always like to look at this and be like, this is like a thing for the average fan to get excited about and to find a way. And if you don't have a horse in the race, then you're probably not going to tune in.
Do you think the game as it stands now, or the weekend, I guess, accomplishes that for average fans?
I think so. Because you tune into the skills competition and you want to know, like, where's my guy going to compete, right? What's he going to do? And so you tune in even just for their event, right? You'll tune in for Dylan Larkin at the fastest skater, or Connor McDavid at everything. You'll want to be a part of that. So yeah, I think it does. What do you think?
I think it's good for casual fans. I think it does accomplish that. It's definitely more exciting hockey as a 3-on-3 tournament than it has been in the past, where it's just a regular game and nobody's really trying. I think it's much more competitive in 3-on-3. The skills competition I still think is a little silly, but I'm not a kid. It's for kids. And I realize that I'm not the target audience, so it's probably not fair for me to sit here and critique it. Like, will I be watching the whole weekend? I don't know. When is it? January 24th? Probably, because I'll be at home and won't have anything else to watch, but it's not like I'm going to go out of my way to find it on TV and make sure I have the time carved out to watch it.
Yeah. And one thing that I do find last year, especially, I was huge in favor of the 3-on-3. But one thing that started last year, maybe I just didn't notice it the previous years, like the first 5 minutes of that game are exciting. But then like none of those games, at least last year, were super close. And so it was just like one team's running up the score and doesn't really try for the last 5 minutes. So I'm glad that they're short, right? Like they're what, 2 10-minute periods?
Something like that.
And so like I'm glad that they are, because the second half of that game, not particularly thrilling.
Yeah. I agree. It's the faster turnover. It does a much better job of keeping my attention.
Yes, absolutely. And I would honestly be in favor of like, because it's so bad, do like 5 minute and do like a round robin. Like everyone plays everyone.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't need to do the ice in between each of them. I mean, I'm sure the players would like to have that, but every four sets of games, do the ice.
Yeah.
So just more time on ice. And again, because then you have, the losing teams are only out there for 20 minutes, and this just lets their fans see them a little more. So let's go, Nick. The Elimination Station returned last year. We have put 3 teams in there. Is this correct?
Let me check my note.
Nick has made sure that this year, 2020, is not the year we eliminate a team twice.
We have 3 teams in. We have the Detroit Red Wings, the Ottawa Senators, and the Los Angeles Kings have all been eliminated.
All right, there we go. So we have a new team that gets to go in there. Do you have a thought on who you would like to eliminate first in this year?
I do. Although I'm disappointed to see that the team that I fought to keep in last time we spoke is still in the exact same position that they were in. I was thinking Anaheim.
I was also thinking Anaheim, more so just because I'm gonna let the choice of the team you thought should be, or I wanted to and you fought for, I'm letting that breathe a little bit.
Okay.
Anaheim was my next up as well.
Okay. The Anaheim not so mighty Ducks.
So we now have to pick how to fix them. And I think the first thing to do is bring back the mighty.
Disneyfy the whole team.
Or the logo, all of it. I mean, Disney has Disney Plus now. We can all go watch the movies.
And the cartoon, by the way.
And I've actually never watched the cartoon.
Yeah, it's a kid's show. I put it on a few weeks ago. I was like, I used to love the show. So I put it on and it did nothing for me.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up to
it's a very strange cartoon.
30-year-old Nick and 8-year-old Nick have very different tastes.
No, yeah, very different. It's kind of silly, just like this actual hockey team.
Right. So this is a team that kind of put off as long as they could the rebuild.
Are they still putting it off?
And now they're here. I feel like it's kind of forced upon them in the same way that like they can look across the street at the Los Angeles Kings and they can see, that's where we'll be and where we are.
Yeah.
So if you're this team, what are you doing, Nick?
Well, I mean, I should have been prepared for this. I think you're just you're working your young guys into the lineup. You're giving them bigger roles as the season goes on. You're going to try and draft high. I mean, they have all of their picks. I like to say you're going to sell for some draft picks, but who are they really going to move?
Yeah, there's not a lot there, right?
There's not a lot of movement that can happen on this team.
No.
So
they had.
I was just going to say you got Getzlaf for 2 more years, 1 more after this one. I don't know what happens to him next year. If he plays a full season, can you get some LTIR cap relief there? Can you get his permission to move him and retain some salary? I mean, all after this year, I think that becomes a possibility. I don't think you can do it now.
No, I agree for sure on that one. And a lot of the areas where teams really are looking for help, they have, right? Like they have John Gibson. They have him locked up, and they'll be able to use him. Like, he's going to be there until he's 34 years old. And so, that's the prime of his career. So they don't need to worry about that. They have their goaltender.
And he's good.
Very good. I love me some John Gibson.
So, yeah, I think they're good in that department.
Which, is something that I think every team we've talked about so far, it's they have to figure out what to do in net. They have to find that. Anaheim got that on lockdown, which helps them a lot.
Yep.
The biggest issue is, and even on defense, right? Cam Fowler's locked up. They've got Hampus Lindholm for 3 years. I'm not sure that that's the window of this. What would you say is the window for the Ducks to return as a playoff team? A legitimate contender. Like a
legitimate cup contender? I don't know, 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
They need some of these young guys to pan out, and be really good. And they've got they're going to have some higher draft picks too, who are NHL ready immediately for it to be 3 years. So probably more in the 5-year range.
Mm-hmm. Well, and looking at, the young guys, right? So this year, Sam Steele showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Maxime Comtois, Troy Terry is there. Terry's, he's currently hurt. Comtois been in and out. Sam Steele's played in almost every game this season for them. And Steele's been decent. That's his performance has been something that I'd be happy with.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, there's reasons to be excited about some of those other ones, right? Comtois, reasonable, especially for his first, full season with the team. Troy Terry, not what they hoped for, but I feel like he was someone who had a World Junior-esque bump of expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which happens a lot with these prospects.
So, up front, which is where they need the most help.
Yeah.
There's reasons to be optimistic. But there's definitely still a lot that they need to work on. So I agree. If they can find a way to move out, obviously won't be making 8.25 after next year. So they still have Ryan Kessler. He's on the IR with 3 more years.
Oh, they're not even getting cap relief from these.
No. I mean,
But they could.
They could have. If they wanted to, they very much could, right? They could spend past it, but it doesn't make a ton of sense right now for them to. Now, if they somehow speed up this, right? Let's say they win the draft lottery this year, right? They're currently sitting with the 6th best odds at it. They win the lottery. They get Lafreniere. He comes in and they're like, all right, let's kickstart this, right? We've got it. Like the Devils tried to this year with Hughes.
Yeah, a winning formula.
Right. And see how that goes. They could make use of that, right? With Kessler and them on the IR.
Well, I just did a Tankathon lottery simulation and Anaheim got the first overall pick. So
there we go. So
that definitely helps. A little bit of luck at the draft lottery can really kickstart this thing.
Did you finish it? Who else can prognostication, Nick?
Yeah.
Who finished the second, third?
Top 3, Anaheim. Number 2 is Minnesota. Number 3 is Buffalo.
Oof, you just got Colorado'd on that one.
Yeah. You know what, Carl? I'm ready for it. I think it's going to happen.
I also was last year, and it helps. When you're ready for it, it hurts a lot less when it actually happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Not great. Anyways, the Ducks. So a little luck at the lottery, but that'll help every team who's in the elimination station. So we've identified their need for depth at forward. Is this something that they can acquire via trade or something that they can hit the free agency market for, or do they just got to wait it out and build through the draft?
I'm not sure that they have many pieces, right? They tried to the last few years, right? Like they traded Sami Vatanen for Adam Henrique. They moved. There was another defenseman that they moved. Well, the Vegas deal, right? Where they like moved Sam Theodore,
Mhm.
and who's the other piece that they moved with him to Vegas? Or was that it? There was some sort of shenanigans that they did with Vegas at the expansion draft. So like I think defensively they were the best D-core in the league, and now they're a good D-core. Just a little older than you'd hope for. So I don't think that there's much in the trade route to improve up front. I think it's more so just finding some ways. And if they can move out, like if someone wants to take all-star Jakob Silfverberg off their hands and can give them, some picks or something, there's a lot left on that deal.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at, how good is 34-year-old Silfverberg going to be in 4 years when they're actually ready for the playoffs, I'm all right, moving him out and signing some short 1-2 year deals of veteran guys to fill this roster out. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't love this Silfverberg deal, but it's the first year of the deal, right? So are they going to turn around and move him now?
No,
probably not.
And it's one of those things too that like it's very easy for us not invested in the team at all to be like trade away your best players, do it. But like when you actually have to get people in the seats, it's tough.
Yep.
Well, there we go.
Yeah,
welcome
Ducks,
to the Elimination Station,
one.
Anaheim.
At least it's warm where you are.
You know what? It's true. Speaking of the Ducks, they former Anaheim Duck, Corey Perry, he had quite the Winter Classic.
It was... Man, I hate Corey Perry.
So much. I'm really, really glad that this is how... I mean, I'm not glad that he injured someone, but I'm glad that he was not able to play. He got a 5-game suspension for his hit on Ryan Ellis at the very start of the Winter Classic. Did you watch the game?
I watched the second period.
Okay, so you didn't even get to see Corey Perry play.
No, but they got a lot of mileage out of the replay of him walking from the ice to the locker room.
I mean, there is no worse time to get kicked out of a game than when you have to walk from like the 30-yard line to the edge of the end zone.
Oh, what a circus. What a hilarious thing to happen. Like, do you think that was considered? Like, if something happens, though, the players got to walk all the way back to the... Surely they talked about it at some point, and the decision was made like, yeah, we're okay with this.
Like, well, again, you want it to be centered so that people can see it. But like in a much worse scenario, like let's say Ryan Ellis left that game on a stretcher after being elbowed in the head by Corey Perry. You don't have to stretcher him like the entire way. And you have just this scene of him leaving dramatically. It's not good. I'm glad that this was the way it happened, that we just got to laugh at Corey Perry walking away by himself. 5 games, though, a pretty hardy suspension for him.
It's a pretty hardy hit.
Very true. It lines up for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. He got ejected from the game, one of the biggest games of the season for that team, the entire game. They got a 5-minute major for it. I think, for once, the penalty fits the crime.
Yeah, agreed. Because that was, that's going to be his last outdoor game. And for these players who say that they love playing in them and how much it means to them, that's how special it is to Corey Perry. Yeah.
And then the cherry on top of the suspension is one of the games he's suspended for is his return to Anaheim.
I very much enjoyed that one too. Yeah. So he gets to miss that. Also on that trip, we get the return of Joe Pavelski to San Jose. So it would have been all the returns. Instead, Corey just gets to stay back in Dallas.
Womp womp.
Yeah, no one feels bad for you, Corey.
No, not even a little bit.
They announced next year Minnesota is going to be hosting the game against a yet to be announced opponent. Do we still care? I know I have been a long supporter. You managed to watch a third of the game.
Yeah, meh. I don't really care. But you know what? Good on the league for doing something different. At least they're changing it up a little bit. So to host the Winter Classic outdoor game in Texas against two kind of southern teams, it's a pretty big departure from what they normally do.
Absolutely. Now, that said, it was also the lowest ratings of any of the games, heading up right near the bottom, heading back with Minnesota. Like, everyone jokes about, it's Chicago, it's Pittsburgh. Those are the teams you always get. But I honestly, they're not doing this for the television. They're doing it because they can shove 60,000 people in a football stadium to watch a game.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think they really care about TV ratings at this point. I think they're making all their money on site.
Exactly. And so for me, it ratings don't super matter. Who do you want to see Minnesota play next year?
Man, who would be a good Minnesota rival? A game against Colorado, I think, would be good.
Yeah.
Who else is in that division?
So in that division right now, Colorado, we play later this year. They're playing against the Kings in the Stadium Series. Nashville and Dallas just finished playing.
Yeah, so they won't get it. Oh, Winnipeg.
So that leaves us with Winnipeg. They played an outdoor game already this year, right? Because they played in Regina.
Yeah.
So that leaves of teams who have not played this year: Chicago, St. Louis, Minnesota. There will be a new idea that I saw floating around. It'd be fun for expansion rivals Minnesota and Columbus. Would be a fun one.
That would be good. They came into the league at the same time, right?
Yeah, same year. So that could be a fun way to do it. But, St. Louis, Stanley Cup champs from maybe they'll be two-time defending champs.
Yeah, I could see the league riding out the St. Louis popularity for another year.
Yeah.
For sure. They're very top of mind right now. But I think the regional rivalry between Minnesota and Winnipeg, you'll draw a lot of Canadians down to see the game.
That's true.
That makes a lot of sense to me, too. We know the league's not shy about giving teams outdoor games twice in a row.
Yeah. The Winnipeg one definitely makes a ton of sense. And that'll be good. So, 2021. And we still have some games yet this year, right? Colorado's playing in the Stadium Series against the Kings. And I'm just trying to rack my brain. Is there any others in that? I don't think there
I
is.
forgot the Stadium Series was a thing.
Well, there we go.
Didn't they have 5 outdoor games last year?
There was a lot, yeah. This year there is only one game, and it's on my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to Carl.
I get to watch my Avalanche play. I mean, not in person, but I'll be able to watch on the TVs them playing outside.
There you go.
And you know what? I'm glad that there's less of them because there was a lot previously to this. So
yeah, we don't need that many.
No, but I still enjoy it, and like you said, brings in a ton of money because there's all the events around the game and lots of sponsorship dollars coming into that. So always a good thing for the NHL. Let's picnic. It is time for our very first must-watch games of the week, of the year,
of the decade,
wow. I mean, let's see. What did the NHL give us for the first week of the decade? Did they give us something good or not?
There's a couple good matchups here. Obviously nothing that jumps out at me right away.
So for Tuesday, January 7th, that's where we're looking?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Like Boston, Nashville might be a good game, although Nashville kind of stinks. Pittsburgh, Vegas, I believe Sidney Crosby's back.
Pittsburgh, Vegas was where I was looking as well.
Done.
That's a good one.
Done.
And I have no idea how much people outside of New York care, but Igor Shesterkin is going to be making his NHL debut. He's their top goalie prospect. They're currently rocking 3 goalies with the Rangers. And so we'll see. He's playing tomorrow night, making his debut against the Avalanche. So if you want to... last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about my love of young goaltenders and always getting way more excited than I should. I'm going to be tuning in for that.
Awesome. And oddly enough, if you're tuning in from Canada, despite there being 4 Canadian teams playing, the Colorado-New York game has the Sportsnet channels.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Wednesday, January 8th, a much smaller schedule as per most Wednesdays.
Yeah.
We've got the red hot Toronto Maple Leafs against the cooler Winnipeg Jets. But I'm looking at Washington, Philly.
Yeah, that's where I was looking too.
How about we'll have to? I know there was a ton because we had 2 weeks worth of news to get to this week. We didn't have a chance to get to a best and the worst. But that Atlantic Division playing some very winning hockey right now.
Yeah, making it interesting, aren't they?
So we'll have to see. By the time, maybe let's see if they can hold it together until we're back next week. Toronto and Tampa doing their thing. Yeah. Thursday, January 9th. What are you looking at?
Ooh, big slate of games. Thursday. I think a cross-country Arizona-Tampa game would be good.
Yeah.
Considering how well the Coyotes are doing and Tampa's climbing the standings.
So do you want, I did not go to a game, but do you want an update on how much people care about the Coyotes in the Arizona-Phoenix region?
Yeah, I do now that you mentioned that.
Not very much. So I did go because, we have the always ready availability in Canada to go to games if you live in a big city. We chose to go to a Suns game instead, which was a ton of fun. Amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've probably been to a Raptors game.
Yep.
Before. This was my first ever NBA game. So
okay.
I love it. It was super fun. And if I was down there, I would for sure get season tickets because they're really affordable. So that was fun. But then there was weird things they're trying really hard to market the Coyotes. Because the Suns, you don't really see a lot of marketing. So yeah, we've got the team. It's there. You know about them. Go. But as you drive into downtown, there's billboards of the Coyotes. There's, those trucks that drive around with ads on them?
Yeah.
There's one of those with the Coyotes on them. But what's interesting is that not a single ad marketed any player on the team.
Oh, interesting.
So for them, they have, they got Phil Kessel. They've got, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's the name I just said incorrectly. It's hard to market goaltenders because you never see their faces, so I get why they don't have rant on anything. But yeah, it was all just the Coyote logo and then just the name of it and come to a game. So I thought that was really a weird approach to take. And then in sporting goods stores, we went to Dick's Sporting Goods trying to see what they had for cheap sale stuff. And there's definitely there's merch around. When you go into stores, there's tons of Coyotes hats and things like that. So
for specific players too.
Yeah, you walked in there and there was Kessel jerseys up on the wall. There was, who did they have? I think it was a lot of Phil Kessel.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's got to be the least most marketable guy there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it was interesting that you didn't really hear or see a lot of it. I did go to, we went for dinner at like a burger place, and they had shuttles to and from the game from there. So I thought that was interesting.
They were just driving empty buses back and forth?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, they're delivering Phil Kessel's burgers.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're trying that hard, but they're not really, like, you'd think people would go to see the players. That's who, like, kids look up to and who you cheer for.
Especially when you have, like, I mean, they just got Taylor Hall, and these marketing campaigns are done in the off season, so I get why he's not everywhere, but you should be able to fit Phil Kessel on there. Some of you've got good young players, so
yeah. I think you acquire Taylor Hall and you immediately change your marketing plan. It has to happen.
Yeah, especially when you only have him for 4 months.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's Arizona for you. And Nick suggests we watch them.
Yeah,
in Tampa.
In Tampa,
a much harder ticket to get.
That's right.
But they are getting more attendance at Coyotes games this year.
Yeah, they're good. They should.
Turns out winning helps.
Yeah.
Friday.
Pittsburgh, Colorado.
Yep.
Next.
Saturday, the usual Saturday slate. Only one afternoon game, Vancouver in Buffalo. So you could just skip that and watch. There's football on Saturday. Mm-hmm. You should watch that in the afternoon. But in the evening, we've got like Islanders Bruins is a good game.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. And Battle of Alberta.
And Columbus, Vegas. Another weird cross game. We'll see. Elvis Merzlikins. I couldn't say Larson. Oliver Ekman Larson. I couldn't say Larson, but I'm pretty sure I nailed Merzlikins. So got that going for me.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Anyways, he's in net for the Jackets with Korpisalo out.
So Elvis will be in the building.
Hey-o, Sunday.
Vegas.
Elvis, I mean, it's almost meant to be.
Yeah.
What are you looking at on Sunday, Nick?
Sunday. Nashville at Winnipeg is always a good game.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm looking at.
That's a good one. Pittsburgh, Arizona. Arizona's got a tough schedule of games this week, as does Pittsburgh. They make another appearance here. And we'll see. Can the Leafs keep it up against Florida? Because that's weird. All the games on Saturday, no Leafs game Saturday night.
Finally got a break.
The rare Saturday off.
Oh, it's Montreal, Ottawa. Woof. They're probably regretting that now.
Like, can we flex this? Can we switch it? I mean, at least they have Edmonton, Calgary for the late game. So
yeah,
and Vancouver for the early game. So there you go. Those are our must-watch games of the week. You can find out more about the show. You can head to thefourthlinepodcast.com. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. You can subscribe wherever you find podcasts. We are there for you. And subscribe so you don't miss us. We're here every Monday, unless we're not.
Yeah, and if this is your last time listening to the show, thanks for listening and so long.
It's been a good ride. We very much appreciate all the support from the fine sponsors at the Alberta Podcast Network. One of them is Alberta Health Services. And as we talked at the start of the show about like goals, and I think a lot of people have like health-based goals in, New Year's resolutions. Do you make New Year's resolutions?
I used to. Now I'm just realistic.
I mean, you've got it all on lockdown, Nick. There is nothing for you to fix come January. So it's
wow,
good.
Thank you.
But if you have one of those things, Alberta Health Services could be something that you need, but they have a very important message for us. It's important any time of the year.
We ask these children if they know when to go to emergency and when there are other options.
If you got in a car accident or like having trouble breathing, I would go to emergency if I had a really bad hockey skate cut on the neck. They're there to treat people that are really sick or really hurt.
If you have an emergency or if you're not sure, we're here to help. Know your options. Call HealthLink at 811 or visit ahs.ca/options.
Thank you very much. And certainly if you are in need, and even, certainly in Alberta, that's one way to go about it. But there's definitely ways that you can go about finding out what you need wherever you are. Please do that. If that's the case, we'll be back next week. We are here, like I said, every Monday, unless we're not. And there's no reason for me to believe we won't be here next Monday.
Time for us to wrap up another Fourth Light show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. John Tortorella played his very angry card, and the words that he used made the censor's job hard.